Have you ever found yourself gazing into an old photograph and wondering, who were these people, really? What did they dream of? What made them laugh? What broke their hearts? Now imagine an old photograph not just of a street or a family dinner, but something more intimate. A couple, naked, close, caught in a moment of desire, vulnerability, and trust. Not a performance, but a genuine moment of human connection. It might surprise us, but erotic photography began as early as photography itself. As soon as the camera was invented in the early 1800s, people began turning it toward their most private expressions, not because they were perverse or rebellious, but because they were human. At the heart of every civilization is a tension between public image and private truth, what people say and what people feel, what they present and what they desire. And photography became a powerful bridge between those two worlds. These early images weren't mass-produced or commercial. They were personal, quiet, often tender, captured with care, crafted with an eye not just for the body, but for emotion. There was vulnerability in the poses. There was trust in the gaze. There was a kind of poetry in the skin. And when we look at those photos today, what we often feel isn't just curiosity, but connection. Because in their moment of pleasure or play, they weren't thinking of history. They weren't imagining their faces would one day be studied or judged. They were simply living, present, embodied, free for a moment from the weight of time. And this tells us something powerful, the desire to be seen, touched, understood. It didn't start with modern media or dating apps. It's always been there, quietly pulsing beneath layers of formality, fashion, and fear. Psychologists say that intimacy, especially physical intimacy, is one of the few acts that brings us entirely into the present. We stop worrying about the past. We stop fearing the future. We enter a space of timelessness. And that's what these photographs offer, not just a record of sexuality, but a reminder of presence. Even more profoundly, they show us that people in the past weren't so different from us. They had worries, jobs, heartbreaks, and insecurities, but they also had passion, courage, curiosity, and the same hunger to feel alive. The formal clothes and stiff portraits we usually associate with the 19th century can create distance. We see the top hats, the corsets, the stone faces, and we assume they were colder, more repressed, less human. But behind every old portrait was someone with a secret crush, a vivid fantasy, a memory they couldn't forget. Erotic photography shatters that illusion. It says, no, they were just like us. They longed, they laughed, they made mistakes, they touched, they loved. And in their boldness, we find something liberating. Because if they could do it in a time far more rigid and judgmental, then maybe we can give ourselves permission too. Permission to feel, to experience. Have you ever wondered why some people, no matter their age, still seem emotionally stuck? Like someone might be 45, leading a team, raising kids, and yet, when disappointed or hurt, they behave like they're 5. Emotional growth doesn't always run parallel to physical growth. Our outside might be mature, but inside, many of us are still learning how to feel, how to trust, and how to respond with grace when life gets tough. So here is a powerful question to ask yourself. What do I do when someone I care about lets me down? It's a deceptively simple question, but the answer reveals our emotional age more accurately than any test ever could. There are 3 classic responses we tend to fall into. The first is sulking. We shut down, we brood, we give the silent treatment, hoping the other person will magically read our minds and make it right. It's the emotional equivalent of a child pouting in the corner, hoping mommy will guess what's wrong. The second is explosive anger. We lash out, yell, accuse, not because we're strong, but because we feel powerless. This is the fury of a heart afraid of being ignored or abandoned. It's a roar that hides a whisper. I'm hurting and I don't know how to say it. And the third is emotional coldness. We pretend we don't care. We become distant, sarcastic, maybe even cruel. But it's not because we feel nothing. It's because feeling would make us too vulnerable. So we shut the door on connection to protect ourselves from the pain of being open. These responses aren't bad. They're human, but they're signs we have room to grow. So what does emotional maturity actually look like? First, the ability to explain. To say clearly and calmly, "What you did hurt me, and here's why." It takes courage to speak from a place of vulnerability, but this is how we make ourselves seen, not as victims, but as humans seeking connection. Second, the capacity to stay calm. It doesn't mean we never get angry. It means we don't need to explode. We trust ourselves enough to give the benefit of the doubt, to respond, not react. And third, the strength to be vulnerable. To say, "Yes, you matter to me, and that's why it hurt." True maturity doesn't mean invincibility. It means owning our tenderness with dignity. It means not being ashamed of needing love, care, and understanding. These three abilities, communication, calm, and vulnerability, are the building blocks of emotional adulthood. Some of us were lucky. We learned these early, in homes full of warmth and healthy communication. But for many of us, this is a second language, one we never heard growing up, and now have to learn with time, practice, and patience. And there's no shame in that. Learning to grow emotionally is not about being perfect. It's about becoming more human. It's about showing up to our relationships and to ourselves with honesty and courage. So if you still find yourself shutting down, blowing up, or going cold, you're not broken.